trying to get more about braking for turn 3 than turn 2. Up the hill out of turn 4, 90-degree left, steep uphill through the kink of 5 and 6, and it gets really interesting in the braking zone for turn 7, the car leaving the ground a couple of times. Tight 90 left in 7, same in 8 through the rhythm section, 9, 10, 11, very bumpy straight into the fast chicane of 12, 13, 90-degree right in 14. Then it's the Marconi hairpin with attack mode on the outside, another rhythm section to finish the lap. I love this track, Jack. The elevation zones, the surface changes, a great battlefield for today's race.
Yeah, and it's a big favourite amongst the drivers as well, isn't it? As we have a beautiful sunrise here in the pit lane. There we are, the sun coming directly into our eyes, to be perfectly honest with you, so it's quite tricky to see anything at the moment, but I'm sure the sun will go up a little higher, and that'll be a bit of a challenge for the drivers actually, as Oliver Rowland gets out on circuit. And these early morning free practices, the drivers often find they can't see at certain points. Well,
some of them aren't quite awake yet. Yeah, I know I wouldn't be, but yeah, absolutely, because you go under the trees and stuff, it's very dark, and then you come into the sunshine, it's bright, so which visor to choose is a challenge on its own. Jake Dennis getting ready, putting the balaclava on. Got his, you see the earpieces so that the team can communicate with him. And there's Robin Frantz with that very interesting helmet design there.
Yep, Frantz is probably one of the most averse to early mornings in the pit lane. Often sleeps between sessions.
There's nothing wrong with that, Jack.
Were you a sleeper between sessions?
Anytime I could. Absolutely, anytime I could.
The race winner last time out, Pascal Wehrlein, with the music going in the Porsche garage. That'll wake him up as he gets ready to head out onto the circuit. Now third in the championship, got his first ever podium for Porsche here in Rome last year. And there's a look at the start, the start line anyway. That's changed from last year. So the start line is now down there between turns 3 at Luna Park and turn 4 at Ninfeo Park. And that stretch of road actually was used in 1928 to 1930 in the old Rome Grand Prix circuit, that little stretch there. So that's quite nice. Right, session is underway, and the cars pour out of the pit lane onto the circuit to get their first high-speed look at the Rome E-Prix track. They had shakedown yesterday, but they were running at less than half of their available power. So we'll see what they have here. The Mercedes at the front, because they are the championship winners from last season, so they are always first out on track.
And that's a big advantage. It's one of those little things, little bonuses for winning the championship, that you get first out on track, clear track ahead of them, and they can get, having done shakedown, as you mentioned, Jack, yesterday, they get straight up to speed, get on with it, and not have to sort of slow down and be dealing with the traffic that these other guys are having to deal with.
Little lock up from Antonio Felix da Costa as they come down into the left-hander now at turn 4 at Ninfeo Park, and then start the climb up the hill. That's the lowest point on the track, and then you see here the climb begins, and as you see them go up and up and up all the way up to Piazza Gandhi at turn 7.
Yeah, in the second car, you see the black Venturi, the number 11 of Lucas Di Grassi. He didn't make it up there last year. They had some contact not far from here when he made a late sort of defensive move and got hit by the car in front. But in the second race, he had a drive shaft failure and whilst leading. So
at the same place, wasn't it, coming up the hill?
Coming up the hill, exactly right. I think Di Grassi is going to be one to watch today, as is Andre Lotter. Very quick in the last race in Mexico. Quick here last year too. It might all come together today for Andre Lotter to win his first race in Formula E. I mean, unbelievable that he hasn't done it before.
He matched Nick Heidfeldt's record of 8 podiums without a win in Formula E with his second place finish 8 weeks ago in Mexico City. There's the attack mode activation on the outside of the Marconi hairpin. Nick de Vries getting stuck into that straight away just to test it, and that's going to be, attack mode's going to be way more of a disadvantage to take here than it was in Mexico, because Mexico was on the inside of the corner and you wouldn't necessarily use too many places.
Yeah, absolutely right. But I think it's about 5 to 10 car lengths you're going to lose, and it's difficult to deploy the extra power that it gives you when you get from 220 kilowatts of normal race power to 250s. And yeah, so you really, the tactics of it are going to be so important again. As we're following Nick de Vries, current champion, we're following him through a lap. He comes down the start straight, very bumpy. You watch the cars moving around, watch the suspension, trying to deal with it. You can hear the car hitting the ground through turn 4. This surface was new last year that he's running over right now. It's aged over a year now. Hopefully, if it does have a bit of rain this afternoon, it'll have more grip than it had last year. Up through the kink of turn 6. This is steeply uphill. We're not sort of, the camera doesn't do any justice. Now look at that hump. Watch the cars take off, crest, and then take off again into the turn 7 area. We saw lots of action last year. Turn 8, slight rise into the apex of the corner. And then this is this rhythm section. We talk about one corner into the next, and it's where you choose to try and make the speed up. Make too much speed early, puts you offline for the next corners. Oh, full course yellow. This is a simulation. Just happens every free practice one.
Yep, absolutely. Scott Elkins, the race director, just doing the full course yellow. He's down there in the bottom right. Hashtag Rome E-Prix if you want to get in touch over the course of the weekend. Hannah says dedication, waking up at this time to watch FP1. Completely agree. Thank you to all of you who've set your alarms very early to join us for this session. The full course yellow will end in a moment, and then the cars will get back on it. This is rejoining the Cristoforo Colombo Road and then down towards the Marconi hairpin that we were talking about earlier on. Sam Bird at the back of this queue. Oh, pretty big lock-up from Van Dorn in front, but Bird, again, he and Evans could do with a big points haul this weekend.
Yeah, they need one, don't they, Jack? I mean, the Jaguar guys definitely struggled, you know, in Mexico City, and it's all got to come together for Sam Bird this weekend. He has won here before, won the first race in Rome, but he's, yeah, it just hasn't come together. Certainly in Mexico City it was a tough one. You see him go down the hill in turn 1. He's got the black helmet on this weekend. Normally there's a black and a white helmet, and we were trying to figure out, is it mood dependent, or how does he make it? Does he like roll a dice or something?
So across the line comes Bird. Well, that's not the line, my apologies, that's the start grid, but the line is further up on the exit of the left-hander at turn 19 as he climbs the hill now, Bird, and has backed off on this particular lap. The lap times coming in are pretty slow at the moment, because obviously we've just had the full course yellow, so there's no real reference time coming in yet. Bird backs off a little and then gets going again. The DS Techeetah of Antonio Felix da Costa comes past. The champion from season 6 here for Techeetah, and only 10th in the championship. No points after the first 2 races in Diriyah, but 4th place in Mexico City. Verne was 3rd. Techeetah looked a little more back on it.
Yeah, they did it. Absolutely. It looks like the form was there to maybe not to challenge Porsche, but certainly best of the rest. And they'll be, at this point, they're working on the sort of energy saving, getting used to the track a little bit with the setup. Watching how has it changed from last year? They've been in the simulators and stuff, with all the new bumps with the, you know, another year on the different surfaces. What's the grip level? How does it react? Because as you turn into the hairpin, for instance, out of Marconi hairpin, you've got one grip level on one surface, one grip level on the next surface, and we've got to sort of tie that all together as a driver and get the engineers to help you out too.
Argyle Jack points out that most of us are up already this morning, so yeah, it's a good point. There are some other series going on even earlier than we are, but there comes Da Costa then down the hill. Here's his radio. It's James Rossiter watching on. Hear from Da Costa.
Yeah, I agree what he said there.
Yeah, that's one of the most insightful things I've heard Da Costa say.
Yeah, incredible. So to give you some idea, pole position last year was about 1 minute 38.4. So obviously we've got quite a bit to go, but that's the cars are running at 220 kilowatts just now. Nobody's turned up to full attack mode race qualifying power at 250 kilowatts. But in the group qualifying, they're going to have to do the times at 220 kilowatts, and then for the stages it goes up to 250. So a lot for the drivers to deal with.
Most of the lap times we're seeing at the moment are coming in at 220 kilowatts. Verline quickest on a 43.2 as Evans comes through the left-hander.
And we saw sparks from below the Jaguars that bottomed out in turn 7. I don't think I've seen sparks before. We've seen, you know, the planks underneath. But sparks, that's cool. That adds a new element.
23 minutes to go. Gunter slots into 7th place, but you can see how huge the field spread is at the moment. As Dario was saying, the lap times are definitely going to come down. Evans comes in towards the chicane, crunches the curbs on the left and the right.
That chicane is so tricky. There's absolutely no margin for error at all. And as a driver, you're just going to each lap trying to just push the limit a little bit more. And obviously, you cannot afford to step over it because, you know, free practice 2 is coming up, qualifying and the race later this afternoon. And it doesn't, if you damage the car, it sometimes will not give the team enough time to actually fix it.
We saw a few drivers run into trouble on the exit of that chicane in particular last year. Nick Cassidy was one who was setting a super lap in the wet conditions, but just tapped the rear left on the exit of that chicane and damaged the car. Bird across the line there, under that Michelin bridge is where the timing line is. Evans goes quickest. James Barclay, the boss of the Jaguar team. I went for boss because I've forgotten his new title.
Has he got a new title?
I think so. I'm about to text the man sitting next to him who we saw there and say, please remind me. I might actually have it in my papers here.
Now that we've got our new offices in Pit Lane, our new commentary booth, we could. He's right across the way. Yeah. Anyway, you see Robin Freins in the Envision car. Bit of traffic ahead of him.
Team principal. He's the team principal. He used to be the team director, but now he is team principal. And the Jaguars moving out of the way in unison to allow Robin Freins to go through. 9th in the championship at the moment. He finished 2nd in Diriyah. He's one of only 3 drivers to make it into the duels stage of qualifying in every race so far this season, but not necessarily got the points to pay for it. Was one of those that was going a sort of lap shorter in Mexico, so was running, I think, as high as 3rd in Mexico before dropping back to 7th. We're on board with the man from Maastricht here.
Yeah, that was a fascinating part of the Mexico race, wasn't it, when it came down to it. Obviously, for a timed race, 45 minutes plus a lap, and the Porsches were within a second or two of making a decision, make the race X laps or X laps plus 1, and they went to, and they just pushed it, and they really, I think they hurt the Jaguars, they hurt the Envision guys, and you know, that's one of those things. It might come to pass later in the season. The Jaguar guys find form. The points they took up, but potentially took away from the Jaguar guys in Mexico, could really play into the championship.
Right through Piazza JFK. This is the last left-hander at 19, and this is the timing line here.
You hear the wheel spin as he comes over turn 1. I love that. We did track guides yesterday, and I did that corner just because I like it. It's not a not a very technically difficult corner, but it's just cool.
There's the Porsche gang, Florian Modlinger, the boss of the operations trackside there. And that is Pascal Wehrlein, race winner last time out, podium finisher here. I think he was 3rd last season, was running 2nd until Alexander Sims nipped past him.
He almost caught him sleeping, didn't he, on the restart of after the safety car. I believe that's when you call Sims possibly the most intelligent driver in Formula E.
Yeah, I agree.
Alexander Sims brought it up yesterday on track, on track walk when I saw him.
This is Jean-Eric Verne, the DS Techeetah driver. As I mentioned earlier on, 6th in the championship. He's scored points in every race, Jean-Eric Verne, and progressively getting better, an 8th, a 6th, and then a 3rd. And here last year, felt like it was a turning point, really, for the DS Techeetah team, because Verne took a win. It was the first win with the new powertrain. In fact, it was the first race weekend for the new powertrain. But then they never really kicked on from there.
No, we thought, oh, here we go, this is ominous for everybody else, isn't it? And as you say, Jack, just didn't quite work. Jean-Eric Verne been busy since the last race in Mexico City, got married, actually, got married in London, so a lot going on in the life of Jean-Eric Verne, but he'll be just absolutely focused right now on what he's doing, dealing with the bumps through the chicane, 12 and 13. I love that chicane. I just think it's going to be so precise through there. And through 14, jumping the curve a little bit.
Jake Dennis has returned to the pit lane. Only he and Nick Cassidy are in the pits. In fact, Cassidy came in quite a long time ago into the pit lane. So I wonder if there's a problem, or whether he only did 3 laps, Cassidy, before returning to the pits. Everybody else has done 5 or 6 before coming back in, but maybe just a different strategy. As Verne now comes up through Piazza JFK, through the left-hander, and he comes into the pits as well. So everybody's done their first sort of 5 or 6 lap run, and now they're going to return to the pits.
Jake Dennis has just left, but I'm with you, Jack. I think Nick Cassidy having only 3 laps with only 17 minutes to go, that would tell me there's an issue with the Envision car. Wow, Pascal Wehrlein drifting the car down the hill through turn 2 into 3. He's definitely on a lap, absolutely pushing the limits. I'm trying to see if he's not 250 kilowatts, but he's got that very press-on style, hasn't he? The head pushed forward in the cockpit.
Well, there's so much more focus now on qualifying, I think, than there used to be, because in the past seasons, you only were allowed to do a couple of 250 kilowatt laps, so the rest would just be race running, really. You do some push laps on 200, but now your push laps in race mode, which is what Wehrlein is doing now, are so important to get you into the top 4 in your group and then through to the dual stages that it's way more vital.
Yeah, we've got that sort of odd situation, didn't we, in the first races in Saudi Arabia, that people hadn't actually done many race laps and didn't know what the numbers were. Listen to the rear wheels locking of that Porsche. And watch, look at the eyes, look through the visor when the light hits it. You can see Pascal Wehrlein, the concentration on his face. Fabulous camera angle through the mirror, but also but with the visor as well. You see Wehrlein coming to the end of the lap. He's through the 18-19 section. That is just a phenomenal shot. He's got one left, one right-hander to go. Look at his eyes moving as he changes his eye line. He's coming in the pits. That was a fairly, what's the word? High intensity in lap, shall we say?
Yeah, absolutely. So Wehrlein into the pit lane then, has this, he'll come and see his team, and then head back out in a few moments' time once they've made any changes that they want to do. Here's a look at him. This was him. We heard him coming down towards the chicane, fighting it on the brakes. Oh, and that's why.
So up to front, the front and the rear. Now let's see if that sort of shocked expression.
Yeah, I was widened a little.
I was always happy it was a full face helmet, that people that wouldn't get to see the sort of scared expression sometimes when I possibly overdid things.
Possibly.
Yeah, only occasionally, obviously.
Oh, Jake Dennis has switched back to his traditional helmet. Yesterday in Shakedown, he had a different helmet, a nice new white number, so I'm not sure why he's changed back, but here he is anyway, coming up the hill towards Piazza Gandhi.
Thank you, Jake Dennis, because his teammate Oliver Askew also has a white helmet, so it's great to help to differentiate. Maybe we should go and sort of try and steal it or something when we're...
hide it.
Yeah, exactly. See, Edo Mortara, championship leader in the black Venturi.
No confusion with Edo's helmet. Always very leery as he winds his way around these streets and down towards the chicane. It is a problem for Nick Cassidy. The team are looking into it and trying to fix it now, but it isn't a planned thing for Cassidy at the bottom of the standings there, having only done 3 laps. So he's back in the pits, and it is a problem for him. So they're trying to get that fixed. On board we go with Mortara.
As he comes into the Marconi hairpin, you see the attack mode way on the outside there. Some bumps to deal with at the apex. Back to throttle. Car putting the power down very well. Mercedes EQ powertrain in the Venturi. Going to be Maserati team next year, which is big news for Formula E. Maserati, such an iconic brand, coming to Formula E.
You see the hashtag Stand With Ukraine on the right-hand side of the Venturi. Halo, there's also some graphics on the front wing as well.
Yeah, very cool from the Venturi team.
We saw Jerome D'Ambrosio watching the action down there, and there is the back of Cassidy, so that looks kind of...
They're in at the drive shaft.
Yeah.
You see middle of the screen, they're working with the drive shaft. Obviously, with the transmissions in a Formula E car, you try and get as much mechanical drag out of them as possible, and they're quite sensitive to all kinds of things. Contact with the wall, definitely, but it seems that Nick Cassidy's got an issue there. Jake Dennis through turn 4 on board.
So Dennis is at full power, and it looks as though he's relatively pushing. We'll find out here when he comes up to Piazza Gandhi. Listen if he stays flat out all the way to the corner. I'd say pretty much flat out here, Dennis.
Yeah, he's definitely pushing, isn't he? A bit of understeer, the front of the car sliding through the apex in the middle of the corner. And that's probably surface as much as anything.
He's 900ths up on Sam Bird's quickest time so far through the first sector. Now we come towards the chicane.
And just watch the commitment through here, jumping on the brakes.
Whoa!
Oh, too much commitment.
And has to uncommit.
down the runoff area. And that'll be that. The lap will be null and void.
He was 8/10 up on Bird's time after the middle sector. Now he comes into the Marconi hairpin.
And you're thinking, well, why is he continuing to push? Well, they can get data from this lap. The team, Roger Griffiths, their team principal of the Andretti team, they get data, which is all important. But Nick's now found the limit. Terrific. Jake Dennis has now found the limit, as we see, into the chicane at 12 or 13. Just lock, you see that bump as the car goes light, just lock the rears, lock the fronts, and use the well-placed runoff area.
12 minutes to go. Stoffel Van Dorn. Driver's eye with Antonio Giovinazzi as he climbs the hill now. Let's ride on board with this.
Antonio Giovinazzi in his home race. Difficult baptism to Formula E so far. But see the onboard. Look at his head moving around as he hits the bumps into 7.
You can hear the bumps, can't you?
Yeah, and trust me, he'll be feeling that through his spine too, the way the drivers sit in the car. There's a lot of your lower back exposed to the floor, and obviously to the bumps after that. So return 11. Giovinazzi makes it. A bit wide, I would say, through the second part of the chicane. Let's see how wide he goes into the Marconi hairpin. Turn 15. Struggling, yeah, there was no apex. Couldn't turn in. The back of the car was sliding, so he couldn't turn in to the corner. Bit of traffic ahead, as you see. One of the DS Cheetahs getting in the way. Yeah, touch of oversteer there, shall we say. Back of the car sliding. We keep talking about balance, and there wasn't much there. This is the last corner, turn 15.
16th quickest for Antonio Giovinazzi. And then this is the run down the hill. Well, he's backed off now, I think. But no, maybe not. A little bit of understeer, a little bit of oversteer, a bit of everything for Giovinazzi.
You're having a word with my engineer. Tighten the back of the car a bit. They can do that mechanically, but also with the transmission, with the regen, with the differential and everything. So I'll be definitely having a word and trying to get some rear grip into the car. I think as the first order of business. You see a tyre change, Edo Mortara onto Lotterer in the Porsche. Tyre change as well. Double header this weekend. Race today, race tomorrow. So 2 sets of tyres for the whole weekend.
Cassidy's still in the pit lane then. He's losing a lot of running here, Nick Cassidy. Everybody else has done about 10 laps now, whereas he's only done his install lap, although it does look as though the engine cover's going back on, isn't it? So he should be out soon for the last 10 minutes of the session.
Yeah, exactly, Jack, but less than 9 minutes and 30 seconds to go.
There are the 2 Mercedes at the end of the pit lane. Again, the tyres being changed. Those look like new ones going on De Vries's car. Well, I mean, at this point, I suppose they're going to be, aren't they? Because they've only done 1 bit of running. But De Vries heads out now, or in a moment. There he goes, out onto the circuit. Van Dorn will follow him out as well. And interestingly, the Mercedes are back to the old wheel guns. Do you remember there was a period at the end of last year where they had the air canisters like on their backs?
I wonder if there was a complaint from the other teams.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, have a look into that. But
I think some of the teams sometimes look at these innovations and say, "Ooh, that's going to cost some money to do that," and budget. You know, everybody's spending every euro, every pound, every dollar they have on development and stuff for the cars. So they don't want to have to sort of keep up with the. I was going to say keep up with the Joneses, but keep up with the Mercedes and go out and buy some of these air canisters. So
keep up with the Jameses.
Very good, Jack.
I'm pleased with that. Might be early, but my propensity for terrible puns still exists.
And Mitch Evans, quickest through sector 1. Let's get back to business here. Mitch Evans is on a lap.
Well, Da Costa's gone fastest on a 1:40.7. Evans is a quarter of a second up after the middle sector. We're watching him now come towards the right-hander that takes him out onto Cristoforo Colombo.
See him now approaching turn 15. See if Giovinazzi missed the hairpin, but you see it from above. Mitch Evans got to the hairpin, back to throttle. No oversteer from the Jaguar on the way out of the corner. Bit of a lock-up into 16. And now it's this quick series of corners. 17 to the left, 18 to the right, and then finally 19, and the run to the finish line.
Here he comes then, out across the line. There is the timing beam, and Evans goes fastest on a 1:40.545 then. Mitch Evans with 7 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Now, look, it's too early to obviously judge anything, but that lap time at least suggests Jaguar in a better place than they were, because right from the outset they were off the pace in Mexico City, so that'll be a little bit encouraging for them. This is Lucas de Grassi climbing the hill now in the Rocket Venturi, and he is currently 11th fastest, but he's only 100th slower than Evans in the first sector.
And you could see him moving around slightly differently, trying to pick his line through that braking zone of turn 7. The front discs glowing, the brake discs in the middle of the wheel, you can see them glowing even then. De Grassi really pushing.
His teammate Eduardo Mortara is on a lap but isn't in full power. He goes up into 3rd place there, but de Grassi is in full power here. If the lights are flashing on the top of the car, then that means you are full power.
What a great shot from above. You see the halo flashing magenta, but Lucas, it looked like he missed the chicane. Looked like the entry a little bit over to the braking zone, a bit slow through the entry. Locked up into turn 14 as well, so untidy lap for Lucas de Grassi. But he's still going to get information. He's found out where the limit is. He's gone over it in a couple of places, and that'll be information for qualifying later this morning, or earlier this afternoon, should we say?
Or later this afternoon, even.
Yeah.
Less than 6 minutes to go. De Grassi is only 300ths down on Mitch Evans after the middle sector. What's he got at the line? 5th quickest. Lost a lot of time in the final sector, actually. 9/10 of a second in the end. Oliver Rowland up at Piazza Gandhi. Whoa, that's a tank slapper.
Well held, Oliver Rowland.
We saw Eduardo Mortara do something very similar last season over this bump. He was on the inside. Oh.
Wow. At that point, what you're trying to do, you're trying to obviously slow the car down, but you have to release the brake pedal, and so the runoff area is approaching a bit quicker than you would like, but you've got to release and try and get the car all gathered back up. Dilbag Gill probably had a slight bit of a heart attack there, watching his driver. Nice
Yui though at the end as well in the runoff area.
Yeah, good style points.
There's the Neo team watching Oliver Turvey lock up into the right-hander at Cristoforo Colombo. Turvey was, he's 1.3 seconds down after the first 2 sectors.
And he's on full power as well.
Yep.
Now you said yesterday, Jack, you felt that the Neo guys were feeling a bit more confident they found something?
I felt Turvey felt like they had found a bit of something. Now, I don't think they're going to suddenly launch into the midfield, but maybe closing the gap a little more to the cars around them potentially. Turvey goes 10th fastest. There's no real sort of comparison for that at the moment. Here is Sam Bird. Now, he is running at full power, and he's just started a lap, hasn't he? Yes, he's climbing up the hill now at Ninfeo Park and up the sweepers. The Dragon moves out of the way, and he's 500ths up on his teammate Mitch Evans after the first sector, but it's Larry on the straights.
Yeah, he got a snap through turn 6. I thought that would have been easily flat out, but you see him trying to get the car stopped in turn 7. We've already seen lots of action this morning. Bit of the barrier coming off there on the right, just the signage.
Mortara is on a quick lap as well, a little further up the road, so we'll keep an eye on his lap times too. Bird, we will get his middle sector split just after this right-hander, and he is 9,000ths away from his teammate Mitch Evans as he comes into the chicane.
Oh, he floated some lovely speed through the chicane. He made a mistake earlier in the lap. He almost overslowed slightly in turn 8, I think it was. I had to turn out of the apex a little bit. Again, easier for me to say sitting here in the commentary booth, but I think that's some information Sam would have filed away for his next full power lap. We've got a yellow at turn 7, but that's behind Sam Bird, so he can push all the way to the finish line. Oh, but he's pushed too much in turn 16, gone wide.
And that's going to cost him time, a big chunk of time. Mortara now goes to the top, half a second quicker than Mitch Evans on a full power lap. Bird through the final corner and out across the line. We did see him lose that time. He still goes 4th quickest, about half a second slower than his teammate Mitch Evans. As James Barkley watches, here is Antonio Felix da Costa, who has been through the yellow flag zone, so may not be absolutely rapid. We'll get his middle sector split just after this right-hander here at turn 11. Comes through it now. How far away is he going to be? He's half a second adrift, but I imagine that may have been due to having to back off at turn 7.
And the
yellow flag is still out there.
Yeah, and that probably means somebody's parked up in the escape road. Let's have a look at how the DS Techeetah looks, it's definitely turning into the corner well. Back of the car sliding, the whole car sliding through the apex, both front and rear together. Came off the corner well. This is the corner Sam Bird made his mistake. I think from Antonio Felix da Costa looking good. Car changed direction well, but look at it rolling over. It's a bit soft, trying to get some grip out of the whole chassis, the car moving as he comes to the timeline.
So da Costa goes second quickest, which is not bad. Fastest final sector of anyone. The yellow flag would have been in sector 2. So it was sector 2, but he still did a personal best in sector 2, so it must have not been a great sector 1. Here's Andre Lotterer. The yellow flag is in at turn 7, so whomever had come a cropper there is back on their way. Lotterer, after the first 2 sectors, well, we'll find out here as he comes through the right-hander now at 11. Watch for the split down at the bottom, and he is down by 7/10 of a second. Stronger together, the messaging on the Porsche front wing as well. Another team that are taking to the car to show messages of support. Porsche standing for solidarity, unity and internationalism, as Lotterer gets a little bit loose coming around the Marconi hairpin.
I think Lotterer's got to be feeling quite confident today. Obviously the Porsche 1-2 finish last time at Mexico. Andre's got a great record here in Rome. He could be looking to, as I say, get his first win today. Comes off the final corner, a bit of traffic with the Neo, and Lotterer goes 4th. Not a great lap, 8/10 back. Let's see what Sam Bird. Oh, turn 7 bumps. Yeah, there we go. Fantastic. Just listen to this. Sam, you could have braked later.
Right, 5 seconds left, so the checkered flag is about to come out. We've got a pretty big field spread, I must say. Nick Cassidy, did he get back? Yes, he is back out on circuit, so he's trying to find a bit of time. But it's 3.6 seconds from Mortara at the top to Dennis in 21st place. So very big field spread. 8/10 separate the top 5. So there's not really too much to read into this, except Eduardo Mortara is looking good. Here comes Stoffel van Doorn. He comes through the chicane. He is currently 3/10 down on Mortara, so he's got a chance here at getting up into the top 5. Some of the lap times coming in are closing the gaps a little bit. So
we've got a crash at the chicane.
Is that Roland?
Yeah, turn 12, 13. Yeah, just locked up. It almost looks like locked up the front, and more damage to the front of the Mahindra.
And that will end the session for any cars behind. I think Roland was quite late in the day. He was 3.5 seconds off after the middle sector. So he wasn't on a push lap, Oliver Roland. Jake Dennis had just done the fastest middle sector of anyone. He's managed to reverse it out now.
And just leave it. I mean, because there's damage to the suspension, and all you're going to do is do more damage by driving it back round.
How?
But in fairness to him, gets it back to the pits. The team can start immediately. Otherwise, he's going to have to wait and see what happens.
The wheel looked fairly straight as well. So let's keep an eye on Roland. Oh, there's contact. There's contact with the DS Techeetah, I think, of Vern.
And Vern was on a lap, and Oliver Roland wasn't on a lap. So
Roland's just sort of not seen him coming, I suppose, and Vern sent it, and Roland's in the wall.
What a bizarre incident.
Yeah. Top left, here they come. That's kind of one of those where Roland should have
looked in his mirrors.
But also, if you're Vern, do you need to be lunging it on a last lap in free practice 1?
Pretty aggressive. Yeah. I don't think either driver comes out of that one looking too well. Should be colourful.
Let's go for it then, unless you've come into the pits already.
Oh, they're talking about practice start for Oliver Roland. Let's go for it. So obviously there's no suspension damage, but interesting.
So, and Roland is saying the car is fine on the radio, so hopefully they can just replace that front wing element, and so we might see Roland doing a practice start without a front wing.
Okay then.
So Eduardo Mortara ended the session quickest. Jake Dennis had just set the fastest middle sector of anyone. He was about 2 or 3 tenths down on Mortara, but he had his lap ruined by that accident at the end. So Dennis had some real pace there.
As did Jean-Eric Verne, who was involved in that incident.
Yeah.
He was quickest of anybody through the first sector, Jack. So.
Yeah, and he matched Mortara in the middle. So Verne was on his way to going top, pretty much.
Well, maybe you can understand why he lunged. He's thinking, oh, I'm on a good lap.
Yeah, yeah. So practice starts now down at the bottom. Yeah, so in 1928, 29 and 30, this straight, the cars were going the opposite way to this on a 13-kilometre track at the Rome Grand Prix. The 19, so...
Who won, Jack?
The 1928 race was won by Louis Chiron in a Bugatti.
Oh, okay.
So just imagine that, Dario. What? Almost 100 years ago, Louis Chiron bombing it that way, away from us, in a Bugatti.
Oh, I can hear it now. Beautiful cars.
And the following races were won by an Italian driver that I must admit I've never heard of.
Okay, let's hear Jackie.
But you may have done. It was Luigi Arcagnelli.
I haven't heard of him.
And Ernesto and Achille Varsi.
Oh yeah,
You heard of Varsi?
was bad. He was mega.
Well, today, this is free practice 1 classification. Eduardo Mortara, a 1 minute 40.022 fastest. Mitch Evans second for the Jaguar team, only 2 tenths away from Eduardo Mortara, so Evans improved again towards the end of the session. De Vries third, De Costa fourth, Robin Freitz in fifth, Stoffel Van Dorn in 6th position, Lotterer, Sims third, Sete Camera in the top 10. But it is the championship leader, Eduardo Mortara, fastest out of the blocks. That's going to give him a lot of confidence. His teammate Lucas de Grassi down in 12th, but a lot of drivers were affected by the red flag at the end of the session for Oliver Rowland. Jake Dennis was on a quick lap until that issue at the end of the session, and Nick Cassidy got up into 19th position despite losing out on a lot of running, so he is playing catch-up. But it is Eduardo Mortara, fastest, the championship leader, quick out of the blocks here in Rome. Look around some of the iconic, historic areas of Rome. The cars make their way back into the pit lane here after that first free practice session. There is Eduardo Mortara, quickest in the session. And that's very good news from Mortara, you've got to say. And it must give you, it's so, and there is Rowland now, making his way back. Wheels look kind of straight.
No, it looks like it's towing in on the right front. It looks like the front of the right front is, yeah, towing in there. So it looks like with the contact jack. Interesting that you would, well, I suppose for the start, you only really need the back axle to work.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, that's very true. There's Robin Freitz doing his practice start now, all by himself. As he comes down towards turn 4. I'm interested to see what will happen at the start, because it'll obviously be very busy into 4, but then how spread out is it going to be up the hill, or will it become pretty single file?
Well, I mean, last year up the hill was pretty easily flat out when it was dry, and it looked today, we saw Sam Bird have a big snap through turn 6, so I don't think I'm not sure you're going to see a lot of side-by-side running up the hill, so yeah, be a bit tasty, I think.
Buemi climbs out, 13th quickest in that session, 1.4 seconds away from Eduardo Mortara. And don't forget, you can give your favourite driver a power boost in the second half of the race. Will it be that man, Eduardo Mortara? You can vote online at FIAFormula.com/fanboost. 1 vote per day. And at the moment, it's De Costa who is at the top. Alexander Sims up in 2nd place. So people are loving Simsy this weekend. Van Dorn 3rd, Antonio Giovinazzi, as you might expect, 4th at his home E-Prix, and Sam Bird in 5th position. But as I say, voting is open and it closes once the race has got underway a little bit later on. So first practice session for the Rome E-Prix underway with the Mercedes EQ drivers. The first out on circuit, Nick De Vries leading the field. Rowland and Jake Dennis having a little bit of a squabble as they came up towards turn 7. Sam Bird went quick in the early stages. Jean-Eric Verne looking to repeat his victory from Rome last year. Antonio Felix da Costa, his DS Techeetah teammate, having a bit of a lock-up. Antonio Giovinazzi getting to grips with the streets of his country's capital. Buemi was the driver who went off at turn 7 a little bit earlier on in the Nissan before getting back underway. Andre Lotterer, a strong performer in Rome last season. Oliver Rowland had a few leery moments out there. That was one of them. Then there was a tyre change for the Mercedes, and they headed straight back out onto the circuit. This was another one of Rowland's moments. Pretty exciting out there for the man from Barnsley. But Eduardo Mortara ended up going quickest, despite that little lock-up. Antonio Felix da Costa ended the session 4th fastest for DS Techeetah. Big lock-up for Antonio Giovinazzi as well. And then the session ended with Rowland bumping into the barriers after a collision with Verne. But it's Eduardo Mortara who finished at the top of the times. So the drivers get out of their cars after the end of first free practice. We will be back for the second free practice session at 8:55 local time. So in exactly 1 hour, we will be back with you for the second half hour of practice. Then we've got qualifying coming up at 10:30 local time. The race gets underway 3 o'clock this afternoon, the 4th round of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. But we'll be back in an hour for free practice 2. Championship leader Mortara quickest.